We all know the Amazing Digital Circus doesn't shy away from delving into the breaking points of its characters, whether it's the existential crisis faced by Gummigoo and Pomni in episode 2, or Gangle's slow breakdown in episode 4. The trailer for episode 5 has dropped and it's mostly introduced by Ragatha and Jax, who also seemed to be pictured more than the other characters. As the show has progressed, we've seen Ragatha's seemingly endless optimism gradually weaken, and so here I want to quickly explore Ragatha's character development so far, the good and the bad. So far, the Amazing Digital Circus has been grounded in real-life concerns like overcoming feelings of meaninglessness, emotional instability, and more. Ragatha has, particularly for Pomni, been a pillar of stability amidst the chaos. Still, Ragatha has snapped more than once, but first, let's focus on the good. Ragatha's very first line in episode 1 is to reassure a panicking Pomni. "Let's just try to calm down," she says. "Everything's going to be okay, new stuff. You just need to," at which point she has to pause because Pomni explodes in a hysterical bout of swearing. But that doesn't seem to diminish Ragatha's drive to be a positive optimist. In episode 1, Ragatha is also the first to address Pomni's confusion by explaining to her about Kane's adventures and pointing out the different rooms in the circus. At least outwardly, Ragatha buys into the benefit of Kane's adventures, saying they keep everyone healthy and stimulated. In episode 2, Ragatha invites Pomni to Korfmo's funeral. This is the turning point for Pomni because at the funeral, Pomni sees the sincerity of the other characters' sadness for someone they've lost. It's the first time Pomni feels like she's among friends, symbolized by the metaphorical hands catching her before she falls at episode 2's end. It's possible that without Ragatha, Pomni wouldn't have been able to adjust to the circus anywhere near as well as she has. However, no one is capable of eternal impenetrable happiness. Eternal optimism isn't realistically sustainable against Jax's constant bullying and the chaos of the circus, so eventually Ragatha has to change. For Ragatha, it's in episodes 3 and 4 that cracks in her positivity start to show, so let's unpack those episodes in more detail. To say someone has snapped can mean a range of things, from a moment of pure rage to a full mental breakdown. In the circus, a complete mental breakdown seems to mean abstraction, and obviously Ragatha isn't there yet, but strange behavior and pure rage, she's been there. In episode 3, Ragatha's the only one to stand up for Pomni when Jax oversteps and stretches out Pomni's arm. And again, Ragatha stands up for Pomni when Jax scares her in the manor. On the surface, it seems like Ragatha is easily enraged by Jax's bullying behavior. You could say she has a hair trigger reaction to Jax's physical violence and intimidation. She struggles to deal with it calmly. It's in episode 3 that things escalate. At some point, she and or Gangle seem to have tied Jax up and stuck a gag in his mouth, and it seems like this was probably Ragatha herself just losing it. If Ragatha did completely lose her cool in episode 3, at least she was boosted at the end by Pomni's gratitude for her help throughout the earlier episodes. It's also at the end of episode 3 that Pomni admits she thinks she hasn't been appreciative enough of Ragatha's help and says, "Thank you for always being concerned about me." Personally, one of my favorite things about the Amazing Digital Circus is the developing friendship between Pomni and Ragatha, and I'm interested to see if their bond continues to strengthen throughout future episodes. One thing I'll emphasize here is that when Pomni thanks Ragatha for always being there for her, this doesn't seem to be an exaggeration. Ragatha's cheer is not bulletproof. As I touched on, Jax's cruelty can tip Ragatha into pure, literally hair-pulling rage. And yet no matter how furious she gets at Jax, she still finds it in herself to be kind to Pomni. She doesn't spread her bad mood to everyone, she focuses her rage on its cause, which is usually Jax. But in episode 4, Ragatha really gets screwed over. When she joins the others for the day at Spudsy's, Jax's first move is to dunk Ragatha face first into the deep fat fryer. Gangle decides to punish Jax for this, but Gangle doesn't actually bother to pull Ragatha out and walks off to the sound of Ragatha's muffled screaming. What I'd highlight here is that one thing this show focuses on is the psychological effects of various stresses, like how Pomni is initially terrified of the idea of being stuck in the circus. So on that note, it's not clear how much physical pain Ragatha would experience from being dunked into the deep fat fryer in this digital world, but her muffled screaming implies that it was highly stressful to say the least. But that's not the last bad experience Ragatha has in episode 4. She accidentally gets a special sauce on herself while prepping the stupid burger for a customer.
That delicious, tangy, mouth-watering taste now can be yours in a bottle.
Unfortunately, this sauce is not so notable for its taste, but rather it's special in its side effects. Kane has said that the only thing he can't control in the circus is the characters' minds, and yet the special sauce causes Ragatha to immediately hallucinate, a viciously leering Gangle wreathed in shadows. What this scene made me think of is the curious conversation between Gangle and Jax in episode 2. In the Candy Canyon Kingdom adventure, when they were alone in the truck, Jax threatened to Gangle that he would tell Ragatha about the figurine thing, so I'm hoping the truth about that mysterious incident will be revealed in the next episode. Did Gangle betray Ragatha? My theory is that she probably did, and Ragatha at least suspects more than Gangle realizes, which explains her disturbing hallucination about Gangle. On the flip side, another interesting development in episode 4 is that it implies Ragatha and Jax have more in common than Ragatha would admit. Gangle's new enthusiasm at Spudsies gets on both Jax and Ragatha's nerves. As Jax puts it, "I like you better when you're sad." And Ragatha tells Gangle, "No offense, but you're kind of annoying when you have your happy mask." Although even higher, Ragatha's conscience kicks in and she adds, "Wait, is that mean to say?" Now, if someone left me in a deep fat fryer because of their sudden enthusiasm for their new job, I'd also be pretty annoyed. But Gangle is suspicious of Ragatha. Towards the end of episode 4, Gangle confides to Pomni that with Ragatha, it's hard to tell how genuine she's being. Which again makes me wonder, what is this figurine thing that Jax blackmailed Gangle about that apparently would upset Ragatha? What really is going on between those two? I also have to wonder if Ragatha was once more like Jax than she'd like to admit, which could be why she can't stand him. Who likes being reminded that they used to be a jerk? After all, back in episode 2, remember how Ragatha worries that the sarcastic and anxious Pomni doesn't like her much? Kinga suggests it's an adjustment problem. He says to Ragatha, "I remember how long it took for you to adjust." So it's possible that rather than starting off anxious and sarcastic like Pomni, Ragatha started off aggressive like Jax. If Jax's behavior reminds Ragatha of her own shortcomings, maybe this explains why Gangle doesn't fully trust Ragatha. Although that still doesn't explain the figurine thing. What's going on there? Anyway, this is just a theory without too much to back it up so far. At the very least, when it comes to Pomni, I definitely think Ragatha has really helped smooth a difficult transition, perhaps more than anyone else. Ragatha has become one of my favorite Amazing Digital Circus characters along with Pomni. I know there are some theories that she's not as nice as she seems, and if you have your own theories, drop them in the comments. In my opinion, Ragatha is an underrated character, and it will be interesting to see how she develops in episode 5. I hope she's not the next one to abstract, but she has been under strain, so we'll have to wait and see. If you enjoyed my thoughts on everyone's favorite pathologically chipper digital ragdoll, you can help the channel by liking and subscribing. Thank you to those of you who have subscribed already. Have a great week, embrace the weird, and thank you for watching.